Hey everyone, so in this week's lessons we are looking at two stories, Theseus and the Minotaur and Golomito. And for each video to start the week, I'm just going to go through the story and just talk about the questions and also what you should be looking for as you're reading. So here's Theseus. Now, the main thing here is looking over conflict as kind of a review, like person versus self versus person versus nature versus supernatural versus society, and just kind of remembering what those types of conflict are. And then why do you think is the reason for an author to include conflict in a story? All of these are reasons why they include conflict in a story. So they want to build suspense. They want to help with character development, right? Characters learn and develop from their conflicts, just like you learn and develop from your conflicts. If you don't have conflict, it's not that you can't learn, but it generally is harder for you to learn. It moves the plot forward. Without the conflict, we wouldn't have a story. It does teach a lesson and make a point. So basically, with these last two, to help the reader connect and to make a point, it goes back into the character development. So as the character is learning, a theme is developing, and also just as they are dealing with conflict, since we deal with conflict, you deal with conflict. And so as we were going through the story, I just want you, and this is going to apply to both stories, but like right here, you're just telling me which each type of conflict is. And then down here, like which is the primary focus in paragraphs 6 through 9. So we are only focusing on paragraphs 6 through 9 to determine what is that conflict. And then why did the writer most likely intend the conflict described in part A to be? Like what did he want it to be? Frustrating, exciting, boring, witty? And then here, which type of conflict do you think is most important in this story? This is a poll question. So when you pick this, for the next one, you were writing an RTQ to explaining why you picked that. Okay, so just keep that in mind for this here. And then looking over here as you're going through the story, and I'll talk about this with both stories, but who's our protagonist, who's our antagonist, and then you're going to think about actions that they are having. So as you're reading, be looking for actions. Write them down, write down what paragraph that you think that they might be in, because I'm not going to have this published until everyone's done reading. So it's just something to make sure that you're going through and picking those things. And then here is where it gets really tricky. So thinking about cause and effect relationships in each of these sections. So just be thinking about like what caused Theseus to go to Crete, and then from that, what happens? What are the results of him doing those things? And then we'll talk about the same thing in Golomito. And then the theme, just beginning to think about what is the lesson that you are learning from this conflict. And I'll talk about this later in the week with my other videos, but I just want us to begin thinking about the theme and the plot development as a result of characters' decisions. Okay, so that's it for this video. It's just kind of an overview of the story before you started reading it, and then just to start thinking about this so that you know what you're going to be looking at on this. All right, thank you guys. Moving on to reading this next, and then Golomito after that. All right, bye everybody.